Welcome to Intuitive Alchemy, the space where we turn cosmic and spiritual insight into practical, real-world healing. I'm Sydney, trained intuitive, energetic alchemist, and medical astrologer in training. And on Intuitive Alchemy, I get personal. We don't do surface level here. We go deep. No fluff, just the energetic shifts, raw stories, and grounded practices that actually change your life and activate your personal power. Now let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to Intuitive Alchemy. I am so excited to have this conversation today. This is actually really raw. Sometimes I have a whole list in my notes app of podcast episode ideas and things that I would love to talk about, teach about, ponder, all of that. But today actually has come on really quickly. The topic today has come on really quickly. And it's really just something that I personally am downloading within my own consciousness and my own brain and life. And so I thought, what better way to fully just kind of develop it than to do a podcast episode about it. And I've also been talking with one of my really close friends about this as well. And so I hope that at least some of you can resonate with this. And so you already saw the title of this episode when you clicked on it, but what we're going to talk about today is how sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is fuck around and find out. Now, what does that even mean? Am I just encouraging you to just go wild and do things that you know won't be good for you? No, that's not what I'm getting at here. So just a disclaimer, I am not saying go fuck around with people or situations that you can very clearly, or anyone could very clearly look at and be like, okay, that's obviously not going to be of your highest good or anyone involved's highest good. But I want to talk to you a little bit about first, just where this is coming from in my life and how this realization is coming to me, as it relates to my life and what this looks like for me. So as I've talked about on here before, I have done advanced intuition training where basically one of my mentors, she hosts these courses or programs where she teaches you how to connect to your intuition. And I have an episode, I don't know what number it is, but it's the Recode Module 1 where I talk about how to connect to your intuitive yes and no's. And I give you several ways to do that. So I learned most of that from this mentor, and she is an incredible intuitive. And I was super, super drawn. I've learned so much from her about universal laws and intuition and self-image and all kinds of things. And I truly love her and what she teaches. So none of what I'm about to say is a dig at her in any way. But I think just like with anything, you have to make it your own. You can learn something from someone. You can take a framework from someone or a practice, a ritual, whatever, a teaching, and then it's on you to make it your own, because how someone does something is not going to necessarily resonate with me 100%. Maybe the thing, okay, yes, using intuition, of course, I would think that would resonate or should resonate with anyone, but the way that you go about that may be a little bit different, or the way that you choose to use your intuition may be a little bit different. The kinds of questions that you ask your intuition or your higher self could be different. So that's kind of the direction that I'm going to go with this a little bit, but basically, so I think it was in March whenever I started, February or March, I think, whenever I started training my intuition. And when we were practicing and going through the modules and everything, there's always specific, the read would be on something specific, like past lives or soul desire versus human desire, like stuff like that. And you ask like very specific questions, and you even, in depending on what it is, you would even get a percentage from your intuition of like, okay, this is 78% true, or this is 78% effective for you, or whatever. And which I know like that might sound crazy if you're someone who like doesn't have any I guess prior knowledge or experience of working with an intuitive that does it this way. You might be like, sorry, what? A percentage? How do you get that? But that's another topic. So I don't want to get off too much on a rabbit trail and tell you about that. But anyway, so I was very much like, it's almost like she teaches it, and she, I guess, probably does it as well, practices it herself in a kind of more like scientific way, which I think is so valuable, and I definitely don't disagree with it. But for me, what I've noticed over time is that doesn't feel the best to me. It's not that I disagree with it or that I think it's not accurate. It's just, for me, it doesn't feel the best. It doesn't resonate the most. And so I was doing it that way for months. And what I found, what I've learned, and what I've really been being shown by my higher self and my soul more recently is I actually feel like I kind of lost by doing it that way, I kind of lost my sense of wonder, my flowy femininity, my kind of mystical way of spirituality and higher self connection that I very much used to have and like be completely one with, like so connected. I used to, I was so, just like a couple years ago, I was so incredibly in tune with my higher self and just like trusted her so much. I was always talking with like her and God and like my guardian angels, and you know, I was just constantly in communication and like knowing that they were working through me and with me and sending me signs or sending me information, like specific information that I was asking for, or guidance, or sending me people, you know, sending me support in the form of people, just directly to me whenever I would ask about it. And then I was also like at my manifesting peak abilities. I mean, I was just like manifesting the craziest shit like on a regular basis. I mean, whether it was like a large specific amount of money or a relationship, or I would never do this again, but like manifesting a specific person. I've done that before successfully. And just all kinds of things. And so I just was what I would consider the most tuned in and aligned that I have ever been. And so I hadn't been, even though I have like so many things going so incredibly well in my life right now, like so much to be thankful for. I'm so proud of myself. I'm making so much progress in so many ways. I felt like there was something kind of missing with like my magnetism and my femininity, my connection to my feminine energy, and just that, I really can't think of another word, but just like that sense of wonder and awe and like mysticism. And so what I came to realize is I was really making my higher self connection and my connection to my intuition, which is how the higher self speaks to you, I was making it so like sciencey and clinical and like, you know, give me this yes or no answer right now, or like give me this exact piece of information, this percentage, you know, whatever the case was. Like it was just feeling like, the way that I described it to my friend when I was telling her about this is it was feeling like I was treating my higher self like ChatGPT. I'm just like putting in a question and waiting for an immediate response and waiting for it to be like incredibly accurate. Like, okay, tell me how I can get XYZ the absolute fastest, and I can bypass this lesson, and I can skip this extra challenge, and I can get to my desired outcome the absolute quickest, and blah, blah, blah. I can negotiate with my soul contract because I don't want to learn that lesson. I just want the thing. Like, I just want the good part. Let me skip to the good part. You know? And I think that if that is something that you want to do and that like resonates and you're like, no, I don't see anything wrong with that, then okay, beautiful. I love that for you. But that's just not, in my experience, the way of the truly like magnetic woman who just is the highest version of herself. And you might be like, well, why? Because if you are working with your higher self and you're working with your soul, like why would it not get you to that highest version of yourself? And I think like there are versions, like there are different levels to the highest version of ourself. And in my personal opinion and my personal experience, sometimes going through the hard thing, you actually come out the most magnetic, sparkly, transformed person that you possibly could. Like, I will say this, I will like go to my grave saying this, that I would not change anything about like getting married at 22, even though I wouldn't recommend it. Like, if you were to come to me right now and be like, okay, I'm 22, I'm about to get married, I would probably be like, don't do that. Like, I just, in most cases, can't imagine that actually would be like the quote unquote right thing to do. But there is also, I believe, a such thing as the right wrong decision. And my soul knew that doing that, by me getting married to the right wrong person at the right wrong time, that I was going to be put through some serious trauma that would eventually lead to me choosing myself, building up the courage to choose myself and do something that was really fucking hard, which was say that I wanted a divorce, leave my ex-husband whenever I looked like the bad guy for so long. Everybody was speculating that I had an affair or I had cheated or blah, 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 blah. None of that was true, but that was the speculation. It looked so bad on the outside because most people didn't know what was really going on in our relationship. Imagine there actually being secrets within a relationship. Like, holy shit, such a revolutionary concept, right? So if I hadn't gone through that experience that ultimately led to me choosing myself and being powerful and brave and courageous to do something that was really hard, which was leave, and then become the person like that I am now, I wouldn't be the person I am now with that experience. However, if when I was 22, I had known about all of this work and I had trained my intuition and I had known how to like negotiate with my soul contract or negotiate with my higher self and say, hey, how can I get to that highest level version of myself like the quickest? I don't know, I may have been able to bypass the whole getting married thing and just skipped that like mind fuck that all was. I may have been able to avoid that and like go about it a different way, like sidestep it. But I don't think that would have, I mean, obviously like all I have is the information I have now, but I just don't believe that would have been the better thing for me to do. I mean, it's easy to say it now that it's over. If you would have asked me when I was going through it, I don't know, I probably would have been like, get me the hell out of here. Yes, I want to bypass this. But now looking back, I'm like, that was the best possible thing that I could have done, because now I have so much wisdom. I have so much experience that I wouldn't have had. And I learned so much about myself and grew so freaking much from that. And I like, anyway, so I could talk about that for the whole entire episode. But my point is, sometimes we have to just do the thing. Sometimes we have to do the human thing. And obviously not when it's something that you're like, clearly, you don't want to marry the wrong person on purpose. Like, obviously, if at the time I knew, like, don't, my gut was telling me don't marry, don't do it, then like, I'm not saying go against your intuition or go against your gut. That's not at all what I'm saying. But I'm saying sometimes we just need to like live. Have the experiences. Don't try to always be shortcutting it and making it like, don't always be trying to do the most efficient thing and getting to the finish line the fastest, because often, and I'm going to say often just to be, I guess, conservative, but I would argue that really every single time having those experiences, especially the tough ones and the traumatic ones, are the very things that are getting you to the person that your soul came here to be, and the highest level version of yourself, the version of yourself who is living your soul purpose, who is embodying your unique soul gifts. We all have unique soul gifts, and sometimes they get activated by these experiences that if you were checking with an intuitive, or you were like testing percentages or whatever of like, how happy am I going to be if I do this or whatever, like if I had tested how happy am I going to be in this marriage intuitively, I would have gotten like such a low percentage, because I was not happy. Like almost the whole entire marriage, I was incredibly miserable for one reason or another. And so imagine that I had done that and then just not gotten married, and then cheated myself out of all of those lessons and all of that incredible soul growth and mastery, soul mastery. So that was quite some intro. I feel like I'm already like in the episode now. So basically somewhere along the way, when I started learning these other methods of like using intuition and like all of that, I feel like I lost my magic and my true, like treating my higher self like the connection with my higher self like a relationship, versus like a Chat GPT or a Google search engine where I'm just like, let me give you this, give me the information like immediately, and make it the most sciencey and precise and accurate and blah 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 blah. So I just haven't been like I have now that I've caught myself and I've adjusted, but I just wasn't feeling very flowy. I wasn't feeling as supported as I used to feel. I wasn't feeling like in every single day, in every moment, my higher self and God and my healing team were like a part of my life and like showing up for me and communicating with me like I used to always feel. Like I just knew, like, I mean, this is a cheesy example, but you know, you like look at the clock and it's like 2:22, or you get a text and you look at your phone and it's 3:33 or whatever. Like I just used to be so like, oh my God, like everything is aligned. I'm just like every piece of information that I'm getting, everything that I'm seeing, like it just all felt like a special little message or like a little wink from like the universe or my higher self or whatever you want to call it. And I just feel like I kind of lost all of that, like kind of, that's what I would call like just mysticism and just kind of like flirting with the universe. And I was really missing that. And I was just getting so caught up in like doing it right and doing it fast and clearing the blocks and reprogramming my subconscious mind and doing this ingredient, doing that ingredient, which if you don't know what ingredients are, I have talked about those on like early episodes, and those are still incredible. So like, I'm definitely not saying don't do ingredients, because they're amazing, like emotional and energetic ingredients. They do, like I I still 100% believe in programming your subconscious mind and clearing blocks and all of that. So none of this is me saying like, oh, that's not accurate or that's not true, you shouldn't do it. Like, no. But the way that feels good for me to go about it is just in a more like spiritual way versus like scientific or chat GPT way. Like that's just kind of what I'm going to call it, because that is what I have felt like. That's the best example or analogy I can think of for how I was kind of feeling. And so, I mean, even like if you're someone who is always like, okay, well, let me consult with my pendulum, or let me do some muscle testing, or let me pull a tarot card or whatever. Like if you're constantly doing that, looking for like yes or no, or, is this aligned? Should I do this? What percentage of this? Or just like, I need an answer right now. Like, how might you be limiting what information you really do need to receive about whatever you're asking that just needs a little bit of time to come through? And so think about like whenever you're manifesting something and it is kind of a big thing, which like obviously to the universe, there's no such thing as big and small, but like to our human minds, there is. So let's say you're manifesting something that's pretty large, and it is something that is definitely going to involve other people. Like it's not just something that you're doing. Like let's say you're manifesting, I don't know, being like in the top 25 podcasts or whatever. So you have to have a certain amount of downloads. You have to have, I don't even know what all you have to have, but I'm assuming it has to do with like downloads and how popular your podcast is. So like that doesn't, of course, yeah, you're a part of it because you have to start the podcast. You have to be consistent with it. You have to market it. You have to It has to be good quality. You have to do those things. But then like, that's not all. Like it involves other people taking action as well, listening to the podcast, sharing the podcast. Maybe you collaborate with other people to get more views or more listens. There's so much that outside of you that has to happen in order for you to receive that manifestation. And so it's not like you can just, anything could happen. Like nothing is impossible, but logically speaking, it's probably not going to be something where you start your podcast and you publish your first episode and then the next morning you wake up and you're in the top 25. Like I just can't, like that's pretty next to impossible, unless I guess you're just like already like Taylor Swift or something. Like if she started a podcast, I'm sure her podcast would be top 25 like immediately as soon as she released the episode because of all the Swifties. But you see what I'm saying. And so it's like the same thing whenever you're looking for guidance from your intuition or from your higher self or God. Sometimes that's going to come in the later. Sometimes that's going to come in the form of you're scrolling social media and you're like, okay, I was like praying or whatever you want to call it. Earlier today, I was asking about this like health thing that I'm unsure about. And then I'm scrolling and I see somebody talking about the exact thing that I am wondering about. And like, it's answering my question. Okay, well, that didn't necessarily come through immediately, but here, like, this is the answer to it. Or, you're wanting to find a partner. And so you're like asking like, okay, can I have my most aligned partner? Can this person like come into my life? Blah, 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 blah. You're wanting to manifest that. Well, like that again involves another person. It's going to take time. You guys have to be on the right timeline. You have to be at the same place at the same time, or you have to find them on a dating app and whatever. Like so many things have to be in place for that to come together. And I feel like whenever we are just trying to skip to the good part, like we're missing maybe, in my opinion, maybe what could be the best version of what we're wanting. It's almost like we're settling for like, I just want it quick. I don't need it to be the best. And again, that is just my perspective. Like if you're listening to this and you are in the same intuition training, like you may have a completely different perspective, and that is so okay. I am just, of course, speaking on my experience and what resonates with me. And I just feel like I lost an aspect of like my radiance and my magic by always just trying to like rush to the next level and do it the most efficient way and the quickest way and the most like effective way. But like I felt so much better whenever I just would like talk to my higher self and my healing team and angels and God and just be like, okay, this is the information I'm looking for. Like, help me understand this, or send me some healing on this, send me some guidance on this, you know. And then I always just like, I would receive it. I would trust, and then I would receive it. And it didn't have to be right now in this moment. Give me a 78% or an 89% or a whatever, that this is going to be the effective thing, or this is going to be the game changer for me, or whatever. So whenever, in my opinion, whenever we try to bypass kind of the mystery, the waiting, the discomfort, the unknown, we're robbing ourselves of the wisdom, the embodiment, the transformation that would have made that destination feel like what we want it to feel like. That would make it as good as what we want it to be. So skipping that void area, and I mean, like, I get it. The void is uncomfortable. Like most of us do not like the void. It feels like discomfort. It feels like, when is it happening? What's going on? Why am I having to go through this? Why can't I just skip to the next chapter? But that is, I promise you, like that's where your magnetism lives. And that's where your power is formed, in my experience. And skipping that, I just don't recommend it anymore. I just really don't. I really, really don't. Sometimes you just gotta fuck around and find out. You've just gotta let it, like, do the thing, take the scenic route, you know, develop that character. And I'm definitely not saying like take as long as it possibly can, or, you know, knowingly take detours that you know are going to set you back. Like, no, I think it's very much a balance of like, you're just waiting a little bit longer maybe for that alignment, or you're waiting a little bit like, okay, I'm asking this question. I'm setting my intention. I'm saying this is what I want to manifest. This is where I want to be. And then I'm taking aligned action as it comes to me, versus sitting there and peppering my intuition and God or whoever with all these questions of, what do I need to do next? And what block needs to be cleared? And da 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 da. It's like, just let it come and let it happen. And then you, of course, take that action whenever you know it's aligned. And again, like, that still may lead you to some really tough lessons, but those are aligned lessons. It's the right, wrong thing. I know that this is this is a deep topic, and it may be difficult. I mean, I know I'm giving like my examples and everything, but I know that this is just a very complex and very, like, I don't know, not concrete, mystical conversation. So I hope that you're tracking with me and that you're not listening going, what in the hell are you talking about? But if you are, and you do have questions, I would love to have like a one-on-one conversation about it. If you want to DM me on Instagram, totally open to that always. I love to hear your feedback and like how things land for you. And if you have questions, like, I can always clarify or maybe do another episode or something. So, also, I want to talk about something else. So this is in relation to it, but this is something that I kind of can absolutely fall into this trap, but it's this, whenever self-help and personal development and spiritual growth and like all of that kind of becomes a nervous system response loop. So if you feel like you're kind of addicted to personal development, which like I would say that I do feel like I borderline, like I don't have an addictive personality. Like I would never be addicted to like a substance or a drug or alcohol or anything, because I hate being like in a different altered state. Like I just don't like how that feels. But if I were to be addicted to anything, like it would probably be like learning and personal development, personal growth, all of that. Like I would say I'm pretty obsessed with that, borderline addicted. And so the thing is though, that constant searching for the next healing, the next course, the next mentor, the next breakthrough, the next whatever, the next level, it can actually be your nervous system being stuck in a fight response. But it just like is dressed up in like spiritual language, and it's harder to catch this because most people view personal development and personal growth and self-help and spiritual evolution, spiritual awakening. Most of us view those things as like good and positive, and they are absolutely, but whenever you're just like constantly chasing it and you're not even really like integrating things necessarily, you're just kind of like, oh my God, like let me just dip my toe in every single thing. Let me read every single book. Let me sign up for every single master class and course and blah, 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 so that I can like be better. And it actually comes from this deeper belief of I'm not enough. I can't trust myself. If I stop, I'm going to fall behind. I'm going to lose my progress. I'm not as good. I'm not good enough. That is kind of the root of it. And you're in a fight response to fight those limiting beliefs. And that energy is actually very repelling to where you really want to be or who you want to be or what you want to receive in your life. And it's not because you're doing anything wrong, but it's rooted in lack. It's not trust. It's not flow. It's not that true feminine like receptivity and the magnetism. It's not truth. So just keep that in mind as well. I have to catch myself on a regular basis of like, am I just constantly seeking? Am I constantly feeling like I don't have the answers within? And so I need to just be constantly signing up for things and buying things and reading things, researching things. Like, are you stuck in that nervous system fight response? Just looking for everything outside of you, because truly at the end of the day, you don't feel like you're good enough or smart enough or, you know, trustworthy enough, far enough ahead, whatever it may be. So just something to ask yourself and a little checkpoint for you if you are anything like me and that is something that you resonate with. So I'm going to also do a whole other episode just on feminine energy and kind of making that transition if you're someone who has lived a large portion or all of your life kind of more in your masculine energy. There's a lot of aspects to that and a lot of reasons for why that could be your truth. And also there's so many things that you can do just in your daily life to shift out of that. And I know, like, even just with my friends, the conversations that I've had with my friends, this is such a relevant topic and something that so many of us need and like can resonate with. So I will for sure be doing a whole episode on all the things I'm personally doing to get more into my feminine energy and what that means and what that looks like. And I'll also talk about it through the lens of astrology of like what placements might you have to make you just naturally more in your masculine energy and versus feminine energy. So that's a conversation that's coming soon. And to kind of tie this one up, I want to talk a little bit about north nodes, because this whole conversation has been very like north node coded because your north node, it's not just about your purpose, like your soul purpose. It's also about discomfort and the direction that requires your north node going in the direction of your north node. It requires trust and surrender and growth. And it's usually a little bit chaotic. Like it's going to be that winding road that you're like, why did I have to go through some of this stuff? But your soul didn't come here to be perfect. It didn't come here to just like ace every single test and skip the hard things and skip the lessons and never develop the character that actually, you know, all of those things that are actually going to make you the version of yourself that it came here to be. It came here to evolve. Your soul came here to evolve. And something that like evolution doesn't look like a perfect 10-step plan. It doesn't look like this perfect outline that you're like, okay, I'm going to do this now, and then I'm going to do this in a year, and then like, it doesn't look like that. It looks like more like spiraling, and it's experimenting and letting yourself be surprised and letting yourself get hurt every now and then choosing differently based on the person that you become in that whole journey. And so there's so much more content coming on like North Node, South Node, because oh my gosh, I think it's so under talked about. Those two placements are so incredibly telling. And I just think that it's crazy that more people aren't like diving into this. And so I would definitely encourage you to like look up, if you don't already know what your North Node is, look it up, find out what sign it's in, and as also like what house it's in, because that can tell you even more specific information. And just look at, okay, what are the themes? What are the lessons? What are the things that I'm meant to, patterns that I'm meant to grow out of? And what energy am I really meant to be more embodying? And how have I potentially been bypassing this by just wanting things to be faster, wanting things to be easy? How have I been shorting my own soul growth and development, which is actually like, you think that it's making you get to your end destination faster because like that's the whole thing you're trying to do, but it's actually pushing it out further because now you're just too focused on the end. You're not focused on just becoming the person who would already be that, or who would already have that. And I'm going to use a specific example from my friend, and I hope she doesn't mind me, I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this, but she had received an intuitive read where she was told that she, like the end kind of part of her soul pull was to have this incredibly successful podcast where like she's just this huge personal brand, like really, really successful and like famous and very well known. And so she has this information of like, okay, this is what's going to happen eventually. And then she of course she starts her podcast and she's doing, taking aligned action. But then she got a reading that was saying like, the quickest timeline that this could happen might be like 6 to 8 months away. And so she's like, okay, well, how, because she is an efficient queen and she's a projector like me, and she has a lot of air sign energy, like a lot of mental energy in her chart, as well as she's a Capricorn North Node. So it's like boss bitch energy. She of course is like, well, how can I like speed that up, which I'm like 6 to 8 months is already so incredibly short. But she's like, well, I want it faster. And so what if I post 5 times a week? Like, will that get me the growth that I'm looking for? And then and I had this conversation with her as well, but it's like, at this point, we're not even anymore focusing on being the person that we need to be and just creating the content that we need to create, having the soul resonance that we need to have to call in that aligned action, because now we're just so focused on getting to that end result the quickest. And that's actually going to make you lose your magnetism, and it's actually going to push that timeline out way further, because it already was going to happen, and it probably would have happened faster if you didn't even know that it was going to happen in the first place. Because now that you know, you're focused on all the details and you're focused on the wrong thing versus just creating aligned content, starting a podcast because you love it and it's fun. And then it blows up because your energy was so fucking magnetic that everyone fell in love with it. And then you become like this huge influencer or personal development coach or whatever. So I hope that makes, like, if the rest of this episode didn't make that much sense, but using this example did, like, I'm sorry for waiting until the end. I wasn't planning on sharing that example, but I just feel like it really like ties things in. And I've done that same thing. Like, I'm using my friend's example, but I have done that same thing with so many different things already in my life where I'm like, okay, can I bypass this? Can I just da 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 da? And when we're focusing on that outcome or we're focusing on just getting there the quickest, I promise you, it's actually not giving you the result that you want to have. So especially if you're in a season where you're like, no, this sucks. This is so hard. I'm in the void. It's so uncomfortable. I don't know what's coming next. I feel like I'm going through the ringer. I promise you, the next, like the highest level version of yourself or the next iteration of the highest version of yourself is on the other side. Keep going and just try to foster that connection with your higher self and your healing. I call it healing team, but that's like your spirit guides, your angels, God, maybe your ancestors. If you feel connected to your ancestors, I never really have, so that I don't really ever communicate to them directly, but foster a connection with them, like let yourself be supported and don't be so like instant gratification minded. I know that that's so hard, especially like as Americans and in this modern time, like we want it and we want it now. I get it. Especially like Amazon. I'm like, it used to be 2-day and now if I order something and it's not here like same day or next day, I'm like, what the fuck? But that's not good, like that's not how we want to be in just like life in general. So sometimes quality takes a little bit more time, and that's just what it is. So, okay. Maybe this is your invitation to just go fuck around and find out a little bit in the most aligned way possible, in the most higher self-led way possible. So if this episode resonated or meant something to you, activated something within you, I would love it if you would share it with another like mystical bestie that you have, or share it on your Instagram so that more people can hear it that need it. And also, I mentioned in, I think the last full length episode, I mentioned that I was working on a new freebie guide to help you start to use your blueprint or your birth chart, as a blueprint to start decoding your health and your wellness. And I have created that. It is finished and it is available. So it is called Cosmic Wellness 101. You can grab it at the link in the show notes, or you can grab it in my Instagram bio. It is for free. I think it's like 16 or 17 pages, and it is super, super beginner friendly. So I'm just talking like, we don't even really talk too much about like the houses. We're not talking about aspects or squares or trines or any of those confusing words. It's literally just like, here is where to start. Pull up your birth chart, and then we're going to look at this placement, this placement, this placement, and this placement. And that will help you to kind of optimize your health. Like, how can you eat with your moon sign? How can you nourish yourself with your moon sign? How can you work out using this sign or that sign and have it be the most effective for you? Because your body, your energy, your soul blueprint is so unique. So unique. I can tell you everything that I do that works for me, and some of it may work for you, some of it may totally not. And that's what all of this is in medical astrology. So, I highly recommend going and grabbing that if you're someone who's like, okay, medical astrology is interesting, but like, how do I use it? It's confusing as fuck, and I don't understand all the language with astrology. Just, this is where you need to start. This is going to walk you through exactly how to start using medical astrology to decode your own birth chart and optimize your health and wellness. So I can't wait for you to grab that and let me know what you think. And if you have any questions over on Instagram. Okay, well, that's all I have for you today. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon. If this episode sparked something in you, share it with a friend who needs it. Take a screenshot, post it to your Instagram story, and tag me at Intuitively Sydney. That's SIDNEY. I would love, love, love to see who's tuning in so I can connect with you and celebrate you. Have an amazing week, and I will talk to you next Tuesday.